Hi everybody. Today I'm going to give you all a little information on some of the railroad artifacts I've picked up over the years. Just finally now got them here recently, got them set up in the yard here in the backyard against the fence. Thought it might be interesting to see where they came from, show y'all some things. This here is a derail post. Most of y'all know what those are. It was on a spur west of Montgomery on the old Western Railway of Alabama. And that line eventually wound up as L&N and later CSX. And then later on after that, right now, that line's still in operation. It's run by the G&W's Meridian and Bigby. This one came off an old industrial spur that they tore out. I was able to acquire it. Worked out pretty good. Neat little concrete post. And it's got the letters molded into it or formed into it, so pretty neat. And this here is a whistle post. It's not anything out of the ordinary other than it came off the AT&N and later Burlington Northern line that ran between north out of Mobile. And this one came out of Mount Vernon. All that line's torn out except for a small section out of Mobile, about 8 or 10 miles out of Mobile that runs through Satsuma here, about a half a mile over from here. It runs up to the chemical plant that the AGR runs it, and they still operate it. But this section of line where this came from is gone now. That was in Mount Vernon. It's all torn out. There's nothing there now but just weeds and trees. So I thought it was pretty neat. I managed it. It was laid out in the woods, and I got it. This here whistle post came off the L&N's line between Baymonette and Flomaton. I'm sorry, Foley, Alabama. Baymonette and Foley, Alabama, over in Baldwin County. This was in Robertsdale. All that track's gone now. They tore it out in the early to mid 80s, ripped it all up. And this post here was out in this guy's field, and went across his field, and talking to him, I was able to get permission to go out there and dig it up. Well, it turned out to be a bigger job my fault. There's just as much of that post in the ground as there are sticking up out of the ground. And the other end shaped just like this, got like a tombstone shape, but it's got an S above that W. And I'm assuming that's for a station whistle. I'm not sure. But at any rate, this is where it was at. It was for a crossing there close to Robertsdale, Alabama. And it took me a little bit of doing to get it up in my truck. Once I got it in the truck, front tires was wanting to come off the ground, but I managed to get it home. Where there's a will, there's a way. So anyway, I was able to save that. So a lot of those are tore all up and broke. Maintenance away used to hit them all the time with the mowers and what have you, crack them up. So this one's in pretty good shape. So I was glad to get a hold of it. And this here is a switch stand that came off out of Mobile, what I call the Florida Street Yard. At the time, it was the ICG had it. They were tearing out some tracks there of this little yard down there about mid-Mobile. And there's only like one, it was a spur track, or siding there now, a small, short siding. Anyway, when they tore it out, I was able to get a hold of this, and it was off the Gulf Mobile in Northern, and later on the Gulf Mobile in Ohio, and later on ICG, later on IC, later on CN, and now it's the Alabama Export Railroad runs through there. And so the track in that area is still in service. As you can see, this one here is kind of unusual in that the railroad has put a guard, welded a guard over where the lock hangs. And I'm sure what that was about was that area that this was in was a pretty bad area at the time, and kids were probably damaging the locks, I assume, and so they welded that over. And I heard from railroad crews that's a real good place for a wash list. So at any rate, the deal, and you can see where the target was all beat up. Kids throwing rocks at it and what have you. So, but anyway, I was able to save that, and pretty neat switch stand. If you notice, now the GM&N had these type switch stands, right, out of Mobile, along most of their lines, Gulf Mobile and Northern. They had most of these switch stands. Later on, I'm going to show you. Well, I'll show you another one right now, actually. That Gulf Mobile in Ohio and Mobile, and had also that was on the M&O side. This was on the GM&N side. And this in here, this old switch stand came out of Central Nail, and it was on the M&O side. So this is the type switch stands that they used, a lot of in this area. And this was, again, this was on the south end of the siding in Central Nail, Alabama. Got it when they tore the line out. I went up there to kind of watch and get some pictures and what have you. And anyway, when I went by the south end where the siding was, this switch stand was laying over in the ditch. So I went up and talked to the guy that was in charge. It was a really old man that used to do the maintenance on that railroad, on that section of the line. He hired on when it was GM&O. And at this time it was Mid-South had it. It went from Mobile, Ohio to GM&O to ICG to Gulf in Mississippi to Mid-South. And when Mid-South got it, they decided it was not worth keeping and they tore the line out. But at any rate, when the old man, when I asked him, he said, "Son, if you want that thing, if you can get it up in your truck, you can have it." So, and it's heavy. And I managed to wrestle it up in there, and I was real proud to get a hold of it, because I've got a picture somewhere. I can't find it. Hopefully I'll find it one day. It's just an old Kodak picture, but at any rate, it's a picture of this switch stand on the south end of the Central Nail siding with a bird sitting on it. Now, I always want to find that picture in somewhere, and I just can't locate it. Maybe one day I'll do. I'll post it. But that's the story on that switch stand there. This one here, between the two, is a friend of mine just gave me this a few weeks ago, and it's missing the targets. I'm gonna try to find some, but he's not really sure what railroad it came off of. He lives in Baton Rouge, and you know, again, it looks kind of like an IC. A lot of people use these switch stands, of course. SP, I think, used some. I know IC used them, and maybe it's an IC line. Just not really sure. But I'd like to know, but there's probably no way to find out. But I got some old, I've got some targets, but I'm looking for some better ones to put on it and get it going again. It's froze up right now, but I'm gonna get it loose. Just gotta do a little work, and I'll get her working. The rest of them all work. So we'll move on down to this one here. This one here, if you can see it, is it's a ground throw, but it was on the main line in Silas, Alabama, on the old Alabama, Tennessee, and Northern. Later on, of course, Frisco and then BN acquired the line. They ran it for years, and then they abandoned it out of Mobile. And this was in Silas. It was on their siding in Silas, and they tore all that out. There's nothing there now but weeds and trees where the main line used to be. And I was able to get a hold of it, which I was real proud of that. And this is kind of different in that they kind of like the NS does here along this line behind the house here on their sidings and what have you. They got a target. It's just got one target, and if you see it, it's yellow, and it lets you know that the siding's lined for the switch is lined for the siding. So that's what that was on the old Frisco, 18M Frisco, later BN line. It's gone now, so I'm able to rescue that one. This here came off the same line, same story. I found it in the woods in Mount Vernon after the line had been torn out. It's an old speed limit sign from the BN. I had to get a hold of it. Not anything much unusual about it, but thought it was worth saving. This here, one of my favorite possessions is the mile marker out of Central Nail, Alabama. Mile marker 33 from Mobile, and it's when it was the old M&O, later GM&O again, went on up through ICG, Gulf of Mississippi, and then Mid-South. They tore the line out, and same old man said, you want it, you load it, you have it. So I managed to wiggle it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and pull it up out of the ground and drag it down about 100 yards down the right of way, get it in the truck, with that switch stand and put a lot of load on a little Nissan pickup. But again, you do what you got to do. But that's mile marker 33. Interestingly, to me anyway, is that when M&O built the railroad out of Mobile back into the early 1800s, mid 1800s, they built two Centronal, mile marker 33, and ran out of money, and they took a while to get started again. So that part of history there. So, and then this is a maintenance away sign that I got in Wilmer, Alabama, on the would have been the GM&N, GM&O, ICG, IC, and now CN line. Years ago, when they tore down the maintenance away buildings there, roadside maintenance away buildings, it was sitting laying beside the trunk out in the woods there, and I saw it and got it. It's got some red and green paint. The red, when they painted it red and used it, that was to stop. When a train was coming along the track, they would stop and blow the horn, let the maintenance away crew ahead know that there was a train coming, and they would ease ahead at restricted speed, and then after they passed the crew and the work area, they would find one of these that was green beside the track. And once they saw the green, they knew they were out of the work area, and they would go on ahead back up to road speed. So anyway, that was in, like I said, Wilmer, Alabama. CN still runs through there. So yeah, that's some of the stories on these. Kind of proud of them. They're kind of historic and come from places, most of them, that either are no longer there, or the railroads the original railroads are long gone. So kind of nice to look out and kind of remember how things used to be. So anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed it. As I get more, when I acquire more and get more that I have up, I'll make some more videos. But anyway, thanks for watching.